Hello kids, welcome back to Kids Mind, where we come to learn, laugh and explore. Today we are going to be going through creative arts to learn different ways on how to draw. So please, before we continue, make sure to follow us at our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa, SMS line 21144. And in today's episode, we are going to be learning how to draw a bird. I'll be your teacher, Teacher Alvin. So today, I hope you have come with a drawing book, a pencil and a rubber. And so let's start to draw. So today, the first thing we are going to draw is a bird. And so we come to the center of our page and draw in a circle. Make sure the circle is not too big and not too small. So after drawing the circle, we can now divide the circle into half and draw another smaller circle in the center. So from the smaller circle, we can now draw a straight line, and from the top of the circle, we can join the line. As well, we can now come back with another circle touching the bottom. So this will be the head of our bird. And so after drawing that, we can now come and draw in a straight line and then followed by an oval shape. So after drawing that, we can now start by drawing the shapes of our wing, which will be a triangle, and we can repeat it on the other side as well. After drawing that, we can extend our oval a bit so that we can now draw in the tail. And so the tail will be moving to the right side of the page, and so it will be a bit longer than the other tails of other birds. So after drawing that, we can now draw in some circles and then some feet. So after drawing that, we can now erase a bit of the guidelines, starting with the head to the legs. So after doing that, we can now continue curving the head to the right side of the wing, and then we can now make our beak come downwards and then a small line. And so we can divide the beak like that. And so near here we can now draw in the circle, and so we can now start to draw in some of the head feathers. And so we can, after doing that, we can now come to the bottom and start by drawing some few lines curving down like that. After doing that, we can now continue the lines to the bottom, and they will meet somewhere about there. And so now we can now draw in the legs of our bird, and we can now repeat the same on the other side. And so after drawing that, we can now start to draw in the wings with some few triangles. And so we can repeat the same thing on the other side. So after drawing that, we can now copy the same thing on the other side. And so after drawing that, we can now come to the tail of our bird. And so after drawing that, we can now repeat the same process to the other side and draw in another small circle, divide it in half, and continue the way we did with the other one. And so after drawing the small sketch, we can now add in the details, but first we have to rub the rough sketch of the head and add the few dark lines. And as well, we can curve the head to join the neck and then divide the beak, and as well add in the eye. And so after doing that, we can continue with the light strokes to outline the body of the bird. Same thing on the other side, and it should cover as well the lower body. And so after doing that, we can now add in the legs. After doing that, we can add in the second leg like that, and so we can now add in the feathers to the wing. And repeat the same thing on the other side. And so we can also add in the details on the tail. And so we can now start to darken out the outlines. So we repeat the same process on the other wing, like so. And so after doing that, we can now darken the other bird that we drew, starting off with the wings. And so after doing that, we can also add in the head feathers to the other bird. And so after doing that, we can now come to the left side and draw a small coconut tree. And so for the coconut tree leaves, we can draw in some curved lines. And we can now add in the darkened lines. And so after doing that, we can now do some light strokes so that we can add the small cuts of the leaves, and we can continue that on the other side as well. And we can repeat it on the other two lines. And so we can add in some few lines to add some detail to the tree. And now we can add a few rocks to the bottom of the tree. Like that. And also we can now add in some grass. And so after doing that, we can also continue on and add some more grass to the ground, and we can add some clouds. So we can first start by drawing a straight line and two curves on each side, and as well as adding some more curves, but you can use any style that you feel like to use. And so on the other side, we can also draw in another tree. And so we can start adding in the leaves of the tree, which will later on darken them out. And so we can add in some more grass to the bottom side to fill in the page a bit. Now we can now start to add in the pupil of the bird and shade him a bit to add in some shadows and depth to our drawing. We have come now to the end of our drawing session. I really hope that you have enjoyed, and as well as I hope that you have learned new techniques of drawing birds and the background. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to follow us at our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa, SMS line 21144. Thank you and have a nice time. Bye.